My name is Rob Lowney and I'm an academic developer at the Teaching Enhancement Unit in Dublin City University. And I want to tell you a little bit about the experiences our staff have been having on using a student polling tool in large classes. I'd also like to thank Seamus Campow, our research assistant, for assisting us with this work. Student polling tools, student response systems, or indeed clickers, physical devices that students would click in response to certain prompts in class, have been around for quite some time, about 15 or 20 years, and there has been literature spanning that time telling us about the effects and the benefits of these tools. And what we know from the literature is that these types of tools in class can promote learning once they're used in a pedagogically sound way. We also know that they can alter the traditional format of a teacher-led session by encouraging active participation from students. And of particular interest to us, they can have particular use in large class contexts. We also know that these tools, when used anonymously, can provide safety for students to share their opinions without fear of being identified or ridiculed. Sometimes these tools can be fun in class, and learners appreciate that as well. And in particular, in the Irish context, in a 2019 survey, Irish students said that these types of tools were their top digital activity in their course. So even though these tools have been around for quite some time, it was only relatively recently that my university undertook the introduction of a polling tool at institution-wide scale. And even though we had known that there was lots of different polling tools in use by individual lecturers, we were worried about things like data collection, tracking, and so on, associated with free accounts. So therefore, we undertook a pilot with a tool called Vvox. And we chose Vvox because of their commitment to data protection, accessibility, and anonymity by default. Evaluations at the end of the pilot indicated positive sentiment from staff. Over the next 2 years, the use of the tool was mainstreamed, staff were supported through community initiatives to get to know the tool, and evaluations continued to be positive. But in 2022, as we reached a stage of maturity with the tool, I distinguished in the evaluations between large class and non-large class teachers, and I'll now present those findings from that evaluation. Evaluation draws on two elements. One is the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology, which states that when these different factors are present, users are most likely to adopt and use a tool. Things like performance expectancy. Does the tool perform as one expects? Is the amount of effort expected for the payoff? What is their general attitude towards the tool? Are they influenced by their peers to use the tool? Are there conditions that enable them to use the tool? Are they effective at using the tool themselves? Does the tool cause them any anxiety? And what is their general behavioural intent towards the tool? I augmented these questions with some from a higher education engagement framework, which states that there are a number of elements to student engagement in higher education, including social, cognitive, behavioural, collaborative, and emotional. I issued an anonymous survey to 230 staff users and got about a 15% response rate. 31% of the respondents indicated they taught large classes, i.e. more than 100 students. Looking at the findings, we can see here, each of these statements, the maximum level of agreement is 5. And we can see in most of these statements, staff are indicating good levels of agreement with them. Things like finding Vvox useful for their teaching, finding that it helps students learn and be engaged, that it's easy to use and easy to get to know, that it makes classes interesting and fun, that there are others who influence them to use the tool, that they are supported to use the tool. There is help they can turn to when they need it. And of course, as we would expect, a low level of anxiety around using the tool. All bar one respondent said they would continue to use Vvox again, and the majority of them agreed it should continue to be available in DCU. The types of things they use it for is as a fun exercise in class, Q&A, allowing students to decide on something, checking student understanding, eliciting their opinions, getting feedback, and running formative quizzes. And generally, when engaging students in class, most teachers found students were more enthusiastic, more interested, more excited, exerted more energy, performed well, were very focused in class, were thinking as they were learning, and enjoyed using the tool as well. So in summary, this tool has responded to a need. It's reached a level of maturity now in engaging students in large classes. And in the 2023 evaluation, I am hoping for similar findings. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch at rob.lowney@dcu.ie. Thank you.
Many thanks to Anna and Anne-Marie for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences of developing the pharmacology course for large classes at the University of Galway. Large class teaching poses a particular challenge when it comes to student learning, which has been compounded in recent years by the rise in student numbers, as seen in our undergraduate medicine class. There are a number of challenges that we are focused on in the development of this module, many of which are applicable regardless of the discipline being taught or the size of the class, but perhaps are compounded by larger class sizes. These are that throughout the course of the module, the students are continuously learning and developing their understanding of the topic. As students can feel anonymous and potentially lost within the large class setting, how can we foster a sense of belonging? To provide ways in which students can monitor their progress as the module proceeds. To appreciate the experimental aspects is particularly relevant for our medical students who will have to make judgments about new drugs throughout their career. And finally, to acquire transversal or soft skills such as communication and teamwork. Over the last number of years, we have considerably refined our undergraduate teaching of pharmacology with a greater emphasis on student learning, a process that was greatly accelerated by the teaching challenges faced during the pandemic. The second year of the medical program is a pivotal one for the development of foundational knowledge in pharmacology that will be applied in future years as the student progresses to the clinical stages of their education. The 4 3-week units have a series of interlocking features that include on-campus interaction, self-directed learning through workbooks, and weekly online Q&A sessions with module leads. These features provide clear signposting, promote regular engagement, and encourage active collaboration. The computer-based assessments are conducted through the Blackboard learning management system using a number of question types that require interpretation and application of factual knowledge. Students are provided with practice opportunities for both interim and end-of-semester assessments. At the beginning of the semester, the class is divided into 6 houses, named after leading historical figures in pharmacology. The students within a house are divided into teams of 5 who work together in the workshops throughout the semester. This strategy fosters a sense of community within a large class, as well as getting to know classmates by engaging in cooperative learning. At the beginning of the second semester, the students apply their knowledge with a capstone activity. Teams of 6 students prepare a profile of a recently introduced drug, creating a synthesis of evidence. The allocation of roles enables marks to be awarded for both individual and team-related content. Overall, the feedback has been very positive on a number of elements relating to the organisation of the module, the support of the teaching faculty, and the overall satisfaction. Students devoted on average 9 hours per week, in keeping with the recommended contact time for a 5 ECTS module. In conclusion, we have introduced a number of features to our teaching of pharmacology to undergraduate medical students that have been able to develop their skills in the drug discovery and development process. This has been achieved in a large class setting and has been very favourably received by student evaluation of our teaching, including regular assessments through the semester and the opportunities to prepare with practice assessments. We will continue to further develop our teaching by taking new innovations into consideration, as well as being guided by student feedback. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, I'm Nicole Isaacs, and I'm part of the Text and Humanities teaching team. The Text and Humanities is a large first-year undergraduate course offered to BA and BSOC-size students at the University of Cape Town as part of its extended degree program. The primary learning objective of this course is to assist students with reading and producing text in the humanities. The course scaffolds students in the critical analysis of a range of humanities texts, including visual, written, and auditory, to develop critical argument and well-produced, well-argued essays. It's delivered in a blended mode with in-person and online lectures, lab sessions, small group tutorials, and online activities and assessments. In the context of South Africa, most classes tend to be heterogeneous and have a wide range of student language profiles. Many of our students are Xhosa, Afrikaans, Zulu, Sotho speakers, amongst others, and this rich diversity informed our course design and teaching approaches. To leverage this, we adopted a translanguaging pedagogy as a strategy to encourage full participation and accessibility to all types of students. So translanguaging can be understood as a communicative language learning approach that taps into the linguistic capital of multilingual speakers to use and connect their language resources to support their learning, understanding, and meaning-making of course concepts and discourse. In line with this approach, the course focused on promoting understanding across languages by using translations and inclusive language activities and assessments to support and enhance student learning in accessing unfamiliar or complex languages and concepts, which academic language can be. So for the purpose of this lightning talk, we'll be briefly outlining 2 examples of inclusive language approaches in practice in a large class context: online activities and instructional translations. So the course optimized linguistic diversity in its weekly online activities. One such example is seen in the student discussion around the concept of representation. In the first week of the course, students were required to watch a YouTube video clip of the famous cultural theorist Stuart Hall discussing the concept of a representation in text and media. Students were then asked to provide their own definition of representation in another language other than English and to engage with other students' definitions. To encourage full participation and translingual play, those who only spoke English were advised to use Google Translate to partake in the discussion and respond to other students' contribution. What was great about this exercise is that it allowed students to leverage their linguistic repertoires and negotiate understandings across languages and co-construct meaning while strengthening their own comprehension and understanding of complex course concepts in a large class setting. Additionally, this activity allowed for a transformation of power as it saw students disrupt the monolingual ideologies and practices of the academy and affirm their own identities as knowledge contributors and producers. The course also provided translations of instructional text and intended learning outcomes and activities into isiXhosa. Based on the context and location of UCT, isiXhosa was prioritized and it also provided access to students who speak other Nguni languages. The translations were provided by one of the course tutors and allowed the course to exemplify language representation and also demonstrate the importance of collaboration needed between lecturers and tutors to not only manage large class cohorts, but in creating effective learning resources and facilitating pedagogical strategies. So tutors with a linguistic diversity are an essential resource for large class teaching. Overall, the course evaluations and feedback indicated that most students appreciated the inclusion of the African language translations and the option to use their preferred language. The flexibility to use translanguaging, not only in small group tutorials, but in multiple forms of course engagements and assessments, allowed students to tap into their own cultural capital, and this inclusiveness enhanced their experience and worked to affirm their identity in a space that can often feel intimidating and even alienating. This pedagogical strategy therefore provides a learning space for students to feel both seen and heard, demonstrating its effectiveness for large class teaching and engagement.